Oh, I'm good. I'm ready. Good afternoon. To my wonderful family, to John's friends, colleagues, classmates, and to the community of West Branch and beyond. Welcome to the celebration of life for John Samuel Ammond. My name is Marilyn Atkins, and my late husband, Tom Atkins, was John's uncle, and I was very proud to be John's aunt. I'm humbled that Jill asked me and Joy asked me to be the officiant today for this celebration. Thank you for the honor, Joy. I really, really appreciate it. Before I read the stories that have been prepared by family members, I want to say a little something about John myself. John's life reflected the words of the Frank Sinatra song, My Way. It takes courage, a sense of adventure, a little bit of recklessness to deviate from the playbook, the roadmap, the rule book that other people set for us. And we say, I'm not doing that. I'm going to do it the way I want to do it. And that's what John did. John was the master of his destiny and the captain of his ship. We may not always have understood what he was thinking, what he was doing, where he was going, but he was in charge from young man until the end of his life. John made the decisions, and we have to respect that. I am happy that he made the decisions he made because they made him the person that he was. Thank you, John, for your life and your love. John was born to Mary and Sterling Ammond in 1945. Because his parents moved before he started school, he grew up in West Branch. John had 7 brothers and sisters: Mary Claire, Joe, Anne, Rose, Pat, Bridget, and Jim. He is the second oldest in the family. He attended St. Joseph's School through the 9th grade, and he graduated from West Branch High School. In high school, John played basketball and football. He liked being in the class plays. He snow skied at Ogemaw Hills Ski Park. His father bought him metal skis, which was a big deal at that time because John kept breaking the wooden ones. John said his father told him, if you break these, your skiing days are over. He enjoyed all of those things, but he liked the activities dealing most with the water. He claimed that he learned to love the water from his Uncle Tom, who used to take John and Joe to Lake George to swim at his cottage. Later, John's parents bought a cottage at Clear Lake where he learned to swim and sail. In high school, with his dad's help, he built his own sailboat. His summer job was teaching Red Cross swimming and life-saving classes. It was at about this time that he developed his lifelong desire to learn to surf. He made himself a makeshift surfboard and would try to ride the waves made by the wakes of the power boats. Later, he had the first windsurfer on Clear Lake. During these years, John's dad taught and encouraged him to work with his hands. He could design and build almost anything. After graduating from high school, he attended Notre Dame University, where he graduated with a BA. John always said that if it had not been for his dad, he would have quit college and become a surf bum. This was an idea that he held on to all of his life. John spent most of his adult life looking for answers. He wanted answers to the big questions. Why am I here? What am I supposed to do with this life? What am I supposed to learn from this life? What are the secrets of the universe? He was very determined to find the answers. He looked in many places. He started with transcendental meditation and Zen Buddhism. Then he turned to bioengineerics technology. He studied this under a medical doctor, and at that point, that's when he decided that he wanted to become a medical doctor. In order to do this, though, he had to have a BS degree, and all he had was a BA degree. So he went back to school at Michigan State University and earned a BS degree. He attended Wayne State University for his medical education. Along the way to his goal, he married Jill Nelson, and their daughter Joy was born. Between graduating from high school and graduating from medical school, John held a variety of jobs. He drove a beer truck for Griffin Templeton. He was a bartender. He worked as a cook for Howard Johnson's for 2 days. He cleaned out the insides of large refinery tanks. He worked at Bay Refinery in Bay City. And one summer, he drove a gas truck famously called the Diamond T for his father-in-law, Doc Nelson. He liked to tell stories about the Diamond T, which had a lot of problems, the most pressing of which was with the brakes didn't work. A lesser problem was due to rust. You could see the highway through the floor of the cab. John always said, you have to really experience driving, and you haven't really experienced driving until you've hauled a full load of gas in a truck with no brakes. John started practicing family medicine in West Branch after graduation, but was still looking for his answers. He tried to find answers in many places, such as orgone therapy, primal scream therapy, Gestalt therapy, Scientology, and many more paths to enlightenment. During his quest, he moved from place to place, practicing medicine in Michigan, Wisconsin, Indiana, California, and Arizona. He always felt, once I find those answers, I can become a surf bum. When John came back to West Branch, he worked in the emergency room until November 11th, 2011. And was always trying to figure out a new way to produce clean energy. His house was full of pictures of surfing beaches. John liked to play bridge, watch movies, and go out to dinner with friends. He is survived by his daughter Joy, whom he loves very much. John was not religious in a traditional sense, but he believed in the afterlife and a higher power. I like to think that now he has found the answers to his questions and is surfing on a beautiful warm beach with perfect waves. This is from Joe. The newspaper story. Now, I have to interject in here. Pat says, the newspaper story is the one of John throwing a fit because Joe got to carry the Sunday newspaper. This is the one where he always left the room when that film was shown, because apparently it showed him having a hissy fit. Strange that it never made it into the CDs that Ann made from all of the 16-millimeter films. It must have just faded out, or some shenanigans took care of that reel. I remember playing war, me and Bill and Mike Dugan against John. We thought we were so smart as we snuck down the river from 3rd Street, past the sucker hole, and into our backyard. Boy, we thought we had him. Little did we know that John had climbed up the TV antenna on the north side of the house and was watching us all the way. John had no fears, at least not a fear of heights. We came around the back of our garage to be ambushed by a laughing John. Then there was one time that John and I decided to make a secret tunnel exit from our basement. We had the hole all the way through the northeast corner of the foundation before Dad found it. Let's just say he was not pleased or impressed with our tunneling abilities. I remember one winter afternoon we were sledding on the Methodist Church hill, which is no longer there. It had sleeted that morning, and John said, "Betcha I can make it to the river." He did just that, and halfway across the river. Luckily, the current was not up at the time. Then there were the train adventures. We mistakenly thought that Dad was making the train set for us to play with. The diesel engine won the game of chicken with the steam locomotive. Actually, John LaFond has the old steam locomotive. At half throttle, the trains could make the sharp turn at the base of the mountains, but at 3/4 throttle, we had lots of great train wrecks. I have a 12-inch long wooden freighter boat that John made for me for Christmas when he was 10 years old. It sits on the shelves next to my fireplace, one of my most prized possessions. That would make it 60 years old. Here is one more. One Christmas, John and I each got guns that shot ping pong balls. We had so, and so has got like 16 O's after the S. So that must have really been fun. Much fun tormenting our younger siblings. Fun times, good memories. Love, Joe. Rose. Johnny was about 5.5 years older than me. Johnny was an incredible athlete. My earliest and strongest memory of him was basketball. I spent many hours sitting on the grass courtside watching those b-ball games. They were really battles in our backyard. I was never able to play in one, but he was generous enough to play many one-on-one games with his little sister. Whatever I didn't learn about basketball from watching, I learned from playing with Johnny. I never beat him, but since I'm telling the story, I think I scored on him once or twice. At the cottage, he, I think, designed the basketball court. It was awesome, and no slant to get used to like the one in town. So the games continued. He was always on the lookout for new things and good about sharing them. Some year in the late 1970s, we bought a windsurfer together. If either one of us liked it, the other would buy the other out. Well, not to worry, we were both hooked. So I bought the old yellow sail, and he got the next year model. Did we flip a coin to decide, or did Big Brother rule? It was so cool being out on the water on Clear Lake with him. But I'm not sure we waited until the ice was all gone the second year, because I took a spill and never remembered having a great shock. That water was so cold. Once he knew I was safe, we had a laugh about it. But I think we were both very careful not to fall until the weather and water warmed up. He was such a seeker. There were many new discoveries he shared with me. One was Ralphing. For those who know of it, ow, ow, ow. Thanks, Johnny. A memory of him when he wasn't there was that just about every time Mom and I went to dinner in town, someone would stop and tell her how wonderful a doctor Dr. Ammond was. She and I were really tickled by the praise he had earned. Bridget. John was 10 years older than me. Fond memories of him fiberglassing the sunfish he had made on the driveway in the backyard. I sat there in the sun watching every layer go down. He came back from California with the coolest shoes with 3 stripes on them. I believe he went out there the summer of 1963. One year after he got home from Notre Dame for Christmas break, he and I tramped through the snow at the hunting cabin in search of the ideal Christmas tree. I guess covered in snow it looked like the one. It turned out to be the shortest and the fattest one ever, but we made it work. We put it on top of the round coffee table to give it height, and it still was a lot wider than the 5-foot table. Don't hold me to that measurement, but there is no ugly Christmas tree. Another year, a broke John returned from Notre Dame with no money for Christmas presents. That year, he prepped my snow skis, made sure the bindings were working, and took me out to the ski park. He set me up and my equipment up in a locker, made sure I was good to go for the season, helped me with my skiing form. Best Christmas present ever. It was time he spent with me. He taught me to windsurf, and I got even more lessons on Gull Lake in Kalamazoo. We would load the boards up and went more than once to Lake Michigan to windsurf the waves. He had no sympathy for me, though. If I was going to windsurf the big lake, I had to carry my own board, set my own riggings. Fun times. He always drove. In Ludington, we had met our match with 5-foot waves, so we ventured inland only to find ourselves in a very weedy lake. Another new experience. If your sail dropped, it was covered in weeds. Basketball in the backyard. High school boys would come over after school and were treated to Grandma Fosey's 2 chips per cookie, chocolate chip cookies. I remember the Kimball boys, Pete Mitchell, whom I named my Raggedy Andy after. And yes, I still have Pete. Never really know the stories of what went on in the van. At that age, I was probably being protected. His laugh, I can still hear it. His smile lit up his face. One more. Who of you remembers going to get ice cream in the freezer downstairs, only to find 2 dirty tablespoons stuck to the freezer top with dried melted chocolate ice cream? Oh, John and Joe, his partner in crime, were always kind enough to leave 1 stinking tablespoon in the bottom of the carton, kind of like the last quarter cup of milk in the bottom of the milk jug. Miss you, Johnny. Rest in peace, my brother. Hi. To Mom and Dad. Bridge. John taught us a lot of things. His life was different. He was in control. He was a master of his destiny and the captain of his ship. And along the way, he taught how to love. He loved. He was loved. He healed people with his medical skills. He loved his daughter, his family, his friends, and his community. He never asked for anything. He always wanted to give, like trying to figure out how to make life better for people. That was the John Ammond that we all knew and love. I'm going to close with a song called The Oldest Surfer on the Beach. I'm not going to sing. I'm just going to read it, by Jimmy Buffett. The sun's dropping out of the picture. Soon be time to move. Hasn't been a real big day, but I don't have a thing to prove. I've still got the old nose rider. I still surf old style. I'll go on out beyond the breakers, sit alone, and rest a while. Thank you, John, for your life and your love. Thank you.
Thank you, folks. What a wonderful tribute. We would like to dismiss the chapel this afternoon. You can continue, Carol. We'd like to dismiss the chapel. What we'll do is we'll let the family stand, and then as we dismiss you from the back, please step up to the table, pay your final respects, and just give the family a hug as you exit through the double doors here on your right. Thank you very much.